We'll call this police and fire meeting to order at 8 o'clock. And this is Mr. Dumpy, Mr. Taylor, and myself, Mr. Sherman, along with Police Chief Scott Fitch and Ray Barber and the Fire Chief. Okay, who wants to go first? You're gonna be quick in and out.
Oh, yeah, mine's pretty short, really.
You got time limit.
The only thing I have on the radar right now is, as most of you know, we have the way we have the scheduling set up for the fire department. We run all of our open shifts with our part-time firefighters. Anything open, anything over, anytime somebody calls off, we cover those shifts with our part-time members. Most of our members we actually share with 2 to sometimes 5 other fire and EMS stations. So I'd like to get the staffing ordinance amended for the part-time staff to add 3 more part-time positions. 2 of them I can immediately fill provisionally. We'll have a test. We now have a civil service commission that's full within the next 6 months. As you all know, with the way we structured the fire department, that just gives us a larger pool of part-time firefighters to cover shifts from. It doesn't add to the overall cost to the city. Right. So I'd like to have the staffing force change to 13 part-time instead of 10.
Well, why don't we just make them even 15? And
Well,
because
because they're in
we
shifts.
just filled that.
No, but the problem with that is if the staffing ordinance is 15, then don't you have to fill 15 spots?
Well, the thing with there's 2 answers to that question. The first answer would be yes. And the one reason for not wanting to do that, it still has to be beneficial to the part-time firefighter to be able to come here to
Well,
cover
it doesn't make
shifts.
sense, because I know we just did this not too long ago.
Right.
One, so I didn't.
Corey's question is yes, if you got 15 on the books,
You're supposed to have 15, correct?
Yeah.
I've got 1 member to pull up from the volunteers, another member that's off station that I fought fire with most of my career from another department to come in. And we've got another candidate on our volunteer side of the roster right now that we're pushing through fire and EMS training. Once he's ready, I like to pull him up. So the answer to the 15, that might be too many, because we also have to have it advantageous to that employee to be able to pick shifts and be able to pick more than 1 or 2 shifts a month, or it wouldn't be at a real advantage for them to be here. So we don't want to have too many on the roster.
Understood.
The only thing that makes this kind of an urgent need, we have members that are enrolling into an EMT class right now that starts in August. And 2 of the members, well, 1 of the members that I'm putting on, I need to enroll him in that EMT class. So if we could somehow get this in place so I can actually have him on my books to send him to that class, that would help out greatly.
So we could send it to council with an ordinance with suspension of the rules, because our next meeting, so it's 20,
22nd or 23rd or something?
yeah, something like that.
Forgot to do with that meeting.
Well, like we were saying before, that
We can't go
missed a couple
anywhere.
in the beginning, so.
Yeah, we can't go anywhere.
Everybody okay with that?
I'm all right with that. If it needs to be, it needs to be. I'm fine with that.
I mean, we might be able to add to it later, but I'm afraid if we have 15, I have to put 15 on the roster.
Because I know we just added to it. I didn't know
Right.
if this would just save us down.
I know it's kind of a pain to have to keep coming back and then readjusting it, but I don't want to get to a point where we have too many on the
Like, start
roster.
running the
and they don't have
smaller
any
ambulance out there and put in a full-time on.
Well, all these changes and all these steps that we're taking are steps towards all of these things that we've all been talking about over the past couple of years as far as a 3 to 5 year plan.
That would help the city with an ambulance run.
Absolutely, because the other day when you were there, you guys were there in less than 3 minutes.
Yep.
3 minutes. It took the Athens County EMS, and granted, they were coming from Gloucester, but it was 20 minutes. You guys were there in no time.
Yeah, because they're not always.
They're not always, and
Right.
this one was out doing multiple calls.
Commissioners need to put another truck in Nelsonville.
I mean, the way that thing runs, it's running all the time.
Well,
They do a lot of transport too, don't
Mhm.
they?
yeah, see, anytime they transport out of town, we're automatic response on everything. We have a operational directive of a list of every type of call that we respond to automatically to assist Athens County. But anytime they're out of town doing transport, we're automatically the response unit.
So we need to get
Quick
that.
question, if they happen to be in town and there's a call, are they automatically primary then and you are the assist
Well,
at that point? Or?
we both, they're automatically the transport. We don't do transport right now. I'd like to get us to that point, and that's kind of the steps that we're taking now. But right now, they do all the transport.
Okay, cool.
I don't think I had anything else.
Are you sure?
Oh, I wanted to, okay, so I keep forgetting to bring this up. But I wanted to talk about the ordinance that we have in place currently with the Knox boxes. Currently, ours is a mandatory situation, and I myself, I've been trying to learn more about it, but I've been getting pushback from some people on this. I noticed that Athens had it originally mandatory, and then they went to a voluntary. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, Harry, on that first. But I think we should at least discuss it. So
The city of Athens is a unique situation. They actually sent out letters to enforce the Knox box ordinance, or I should say key box ordinance, because the Knox is actually a specific
it's a brand
brand.
name.
Right.
Right?
So what they did was they sent out letters and said, hey, by the way, this is mandatory. Well, in the city of Athens, it wasn't mandatory. It wasn't the law that was enforced there, because the city of Athens has adopted the 97 BOCA code. They didn't adopt the Ohio Fire Code. So since they've adopted the 97 BOCA code, that wasn't part of the BOCA code. So when Chief Troxel sent those letters out, it was in a good faith effort to try to get that in place. Most of the people in Athens complied. Matter of fact, the Knox box that I have, that I go around town to show people how they're built, because most people don't realize, they think of a Knox box or a key box as like a mailbox on the side of a house. These are more secure than the buildings in town. The box that I have that I actually take out to show people, it actually came from Hunter's office. One of the buildings that they had burned, and they retrieved that box. In the city of Nelsonville, by default, we enforce the Ohio Fire Code. As a certified fire safety inspector, that's what's enforced here. There was only confusion here recently when a business owner in the city started running around and telling everybody that the Knox box ordinance was unconstitutional. What I found in conversations was that individual's business did not like the way the local ordinance on the local books for the city was written. I have no clue where that ordinance came from. It reads almost verbatim what 506 is in the fire code, which is the lockbox, the key lock ordinance, but not quite the same. The argument that the individual had with myself and Scott was, well, we just don't like it. We think it's unconstitutional. So my answer to that was, okay, I will make sure that when we codify the ordinances that the local lock, the key lock ordinance comes off the books for the city, but I still enforce the Ohio Fire Code. We don't enforce it on residential. We only enforce it on all the commercial and any new construction. There is an incentive with insurance companies. I did have that verified. I called somebody that actually sells insurance. They checked, and there is an insurance incentive with some companies. We have a very thorough retention system for the keys, cloud-based software. Just a retention system per truck is $1,000 to make sure this key is maintained. It's not a, hey, we have a key hanging up on the wall and anybody has access to it. These are very unique identifier numbers that are personal to the paid staff that they would not give out to anybody else. It's their social security numbers, actually.
So maybe a little bit more background. This is a pretty big it's been around for a really long time. And DOD, we started enforcing this regulation 2007, if memory serves me correct. And we put these Knox boxes on top secret facilities. These keys are not easy to get to. Whoever touches these keys, there is a trail back to that person. And it's not something you can just go unlock and grab something, key out of it, and go in somebody's place. It's not anywhere near that simple. So this is a tried and true method. It's out there quite a bit, actually. And, I think it's a good idea, and that just saves for more than anything, if there's a false alarm, more so than if there's a fire. It saves property damage specifically for the business owners. So I don't really, I'm kind of done right there. I lost the words.
I do know it is across the country. I mean, I've seen it in states I've been in.
The objections I've heard from people is like at the First Christian Church, we actually got nothing that we care about. You want a key, but we ain't got $600 either.
It's not $600.
What is it, about 3?
Yeah, it's a little over 300 for the small commercial. I mean, it's,
Another business owner said, fine, I got a glass door, if you need to go in, I'll take care of it.
well, for most people through education, I have been able to get people to comply. I have business owners in town that have sent $5,000 orders, that I've had to put my sign of approval, and I have to approve every order that comes through their system. I get an encrypted email from the company to accept that order for that individual, and then that box comes to them. They install the box, and we come out. We put the relevant keys and stuff in it. Our use groupies have them. Some of the larger landlords have them. All the federal buildings have Knox boxes. We have banks in town that have Knox boxes, but not some surrounding that specific business. And I haven't gotten up that way to do some inspections, to talk to people, to educate. Because what I've really found is, once I start educating people on why this is the way it is and why we enforce this, usually we get compliance. But there's a small handful of people that so far have still been kind of bucking the system.
I do know that one of the buildings I redone, and it was built in the early 1900s, but it was also, I think, in the 1960s, used as a sheriff's department. It had Knox boxes.
Did it?
Yeah, it had Knox boxes on the outside.
Right.
Yeah, Knox box is still there.
Yeah, the federal buildings have used Knox. It's definitely a tried and true system. It has its own UL listing for security.
Right.
I had a lot of people that were worried about somebody stealing the box and breaking into it and then getting into their building. I have videos on my computer. The fire department spent 15, 20 minutes getting into a Knox box with the equipment that we have, and they destroyed everything in the box. They are definitely built more secure than the buildings.
All of that.
I mean, you're going to take the door off or open the wall before you get into this box. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I've got one in the truck.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And that's what we tried to explain to the one customer, that was worried about somebody getting a key and coming in and going through their stuff. Frankly, it would be easier just to break the lock instead of going through the Knox box to get to it.
So just to reiterate your point originally, it's not a Nelsonville city ordinance that we have. It's the Ohio Fire Code that we adopted.
Yeah, it was adopted. It first started as the International Fire Code, then the state of Ohio, with their panel of attorneys, it was vetted, and then they adopted it verbatim from the International Fire Code. And what happened was, when I sent out educational letters to the community, I tried to explain the reasoning for the Knox box, and I cited the local code. Like I said, I don't know where that came from, and I don't know who wrote it, but it doesn't read word for word like the fire code does. But that's what I cited because it was a local code. I thought, well, maybe, it was there. It was easier to type up, and it's local, so I thought, I'll just go ahead and send that out. If that's an issue, the way that's worded, I wholeheartedly agree that we just throw that out of the local code because we don't need it in the first place. It's already in the Ohio Fire Code. It's already vetted by their panel of attorneys. So if anybody has any doubt about the legality of it, that panel of attorneys have already done that.
I don't know how it got in there either, because how it got in was when they did requalification.
I don't even know where it came from.
And when they did requalification, I looked at Gary and said, is these all existing ordinances, or is there anything new? He said, no, it's all existing ordinance. Well, that wasn't the case. Title 15 was in there new. Oh, shame on me for not checking instead of asking, but it come in and one of them things like, there's the codification. We're going to do it on emergency tonight. So I turned to Gary and said, is there anything new in this? And he said, no. And it was in the 2015 requalification.
Okay.
One suggestion that we got was just, and I think Harry already said it, and is just kind of regurgitating, is just to do away with the ordinance altogether.
Yeah, because people seem to have an issue with the way the local code was written.
Right. Well, and that's just a layer of confusion. So that makes sense to me to do that.
Didn't we adopted,
By default, we enforce the Ohio Fire Code as a certified fire safety inspector for the state of Ohio. By default, I enforce the latest provision of the Ohio Fire Code.
okay.
All right. Cool. Anything else fire related?
I think that's all I have.
That's a record.
All right.
Okay,
You're up. Here we go.
Come on, new guy. Make sure you're talking to the mic, sir, so people can hear you.
Week 3, going strong. Progress is being made. A lot more proactivity. We've done multiple, I think a total of 5 search warrants this week. We've made multiple arrests. Matter of fact, I just came from an arrest just moments ago. Guys are responding well. We are down another guy, as you probably know. Right now, we're currently sitting at, including myself, 8 full-time and 1 part-time. If I'm not mistaken, I've been told it's 9 and 1, or 9 and 3, I'm sorry. So there is a vacancy, 1 full-time and 2 part-time there that right now, because of some of the budget issues, we're kind of waiting to see how that plays out. For right now, although with the current situation, it's hard to staff and keeping overtime at a minimum, but I am doing that. I revamped a new schedule for us. It's definitely much more efficient as far as maximizing the officers that we have. I also implemented, actually today, an FTO program, a field training officer program, with our 2 new guys getting hired next week. To my knowledge, Nelsonville Police Department's never had one, at least certainly not a formal one, because nobody knew about it. So this is a standard international, national, and Ohio manual that's all adopted it. It's proven effective. It allows the new guys to know exactly what's expected of them from the get-go, and allows the field training officer to know what he's expected to do. And there should be no surprises. It monitors their progress throughout their training office. So that way everyone has a basic level to succeed before they even get cut loose on their own. It's, staffing wise, it's a little problematic because it takes us a little longer to get a guy. But the thing is, once they get out on their own, they should hit the ground running. So that's the upside to it. As Mr. Sherman knows, we've been cleaning, redoing lots of things, trying to get as much clean as we can. One of the issues that I do have that I spoke with Scott about is with the loss of some of the experience, some of the veteran officers, we lost a lot of our in-house certified instructors. And that's one of the issues that, obviously I want to up their training a lot, but there's certain statutes in the state that mandate certain training that we have to have. One of which is firearms. So I did some cost analysis, and I printed out some course description and stuff that I supplied Scott. But for a police carbine instructor, which is like a rifle, all the guys carry them. It's $650 just for the class to get a certified instructor, where they could come back and train the rest of us. Shotguns, $550. We have a new evidence room manager. The course for that's $250. And a taser instructor is $495. And those are things that's just mandated by the state that we really don't have an option. Either we pay an outside instructor to come in, or we have in-house instructors like we always have and most departments do.
And how long are they certified for?
The instructors themselves, they just have to go to a kind of a train the trainer type of a recert update every couple years, and it's usually just a few hours, and they have them all over the place.
Gotcha.
It's just a matter of getting the instructor certificate and then maintaining it's really not that difficult after you have it. They make it pretty affordable, and it's normally not too much travel involved in that. So those are some issues that's coming up. You know, like I said, I can probably get through this year with some cashing in some favors to some other officers and stuff that I know that's been around as long as me or longer and that's willing to do it for us, you know, to get us through this bind, which is great. But, you know, those are things that I really want to bring up to you because eventually we're going to have them at some point. We're still waiting on our fourth cruiser to come in. We do believe, last I heard, was it's supposed to come in this upcoming week. Sometime either possibly tomorrow, but I believe it's supposed to be next week. So we're kind of excited about getting that to revamp of the cruiser schedule to where we keep them all, you know, the mileage similar on each of them and make them as efficient as possible. There's some items that I found that for destruction. I think I spoke last night. There was Scott knows that we have 9 ballistic vest body armor that are expired, and there's nothing. They hold no monetary value. There's nothing you can do to refurbish them. Essentially, they're just there. I can't find them on any of the guys' inventories. I'm not sure. As opposed to just keeping them, I thought about potentially donating them to the Hawking College, the police science, or the Athens County SRT team. A lot of times they do ballistic testing with different ammunition and things. But essentially, there's no need to put them on a shelf somewhere in the police department when I'm trying to clean everything from top to bottom. So one of the things I'm trying to do, I found some Polaroid cameras. I don't think those are going to be issued out anytime soon. And just some equipment like that that's just kind of outdated.
Do we sell those? Those are like vintage now.
Well, maybe.
Facebook Marketplace? Oh.
Probably, even though there's no monetary value on the vest, you probably have to have an ordinance.
That's what I was going to ask. He's going to go through a list of several different things just to propose to you and draft up an ordinance. There's some things we can sell, trade in, or donate. But just like the other ordinance you guys already gave me for the stuff out in the yard that we're still cleaning out, I just want to make sure we're fully transparent on what we're getting rid of.
We also have, it's called a XP26 taser, which was the first generation of tasers apparently that the Nelsonville Police Department had. They all have the newer model of tasers now. And so we have these tasers. I've not tried them yet. I have packaged them up and nice and neatly stored them, but there's probably, I would say 10 to 12 of them. I was told that half of them work, half of them don't. There's some spare batteries. I thought about it this time because they don't fit any of the holsters that the guys have now. Donating those to maybe another law enforcement agent.
One or two of those misfired in a very bad situation, almost caused an officer to have to use his weapon.
Right. Well,
so I don't think they're really reliable.
Well, I mean,
I'll offer up Mr. Dunphy's services to test them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys want me to just destroy them, I can do that.
Well, I'm just telling you, I don't know that I would try to sell them to another police agent.
Well, I wasn't trying to sell them. I was just going to donate them because I don't think anybody would pay anything for them.
The situation was they had a guy who was in a bathroom, I think.
He's going to kill himself.
With a knife, and they went to tase him, and he lunged for him. And the second officer got his taser on him, had not. The first officer went.
Well, I don't have a preference. I personally don't. I just don't think they need to remain at the Nelsonville Police Department, whether if we decide to dispose of them or not.
I think
We'll just find a way to dispose of them.
And as far as, and again, I don't know what in a perfect world, I would like to get some cubicles of some sort. Nothing big, nothing fancy by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm giving up what's called the chief's office because it's, as you all probably know, twice the size of any office at the police department. And I just don't feel that it should be utilized on one person. I think we can do it much more efficiently to give that office to the rest of the uniform guys. And then I could take one of the little offices and let those guys have an area to where they can, have a little more area to move around and about, still have the closeness together, And plus that would eventually help me organize things better. So I don't know if that's a possibility now or if that's something down the road, but I know I would like to have some kind of, in a perfect world, some flooring, because I think Dan seen today that it's worn completely out, to right down to the concrete.
What kind of flooring you want?
Basically anything. At this point, anything.
Something that's easy maintenance. So I was thinking about.
Vinyl laminate, the vinyl laminate.
LVC.
The waterproof tile.
So either that or just take the carpet up, grind it
How
down,
many
stain
square
it,
feet you got?
seal it.
I'm not sure. I've never seen a plan.
We put that in a daycare and it has held up exact. Like,
Oh,
excellent.
that's pretty.
They got actually vinyl plank that looks like wood.
It looks just like wood.
Yeah.
Well, whatever would be, the most efficient, cost effective.
And I can put that in.
But anything right now, it's
I
pretty
put it
good.
in all my places. That's,
We want to put it in right.
It's easy. to put in.
So
Hey, Scott, did you check with, Rocky or?
I did on the cubicles, and I didn't get anything back. I've still been, there's a couple other sites that I would like to look at that has good used furniture at low cost to get the QBs in there. And I love Chief's idea, the QBs and putting them in there. Big businesses do it all the time because it makes sense.
OU,
Oh, you too.
they,
We used to get
they do auctions, a couple auctions a year. They
We
might have some too.
Mhm.
A lot of their stuff is, a lot of
had,
the stuff.
we had to register with them, which I'm sure that ain't no more, but we used.
another thing that I came across in doing inventory, I found a relatively brand new 308 rifle that was currently being assigned to the SRT team, the Athens County SRT team. So I spoke with the commander of the SRT and asked him about it, and it wasn't really being utilized. It was just in their possession. So I went ahead and got that back. It was, I guess, several chiefs. I'm not sure the history, but we bought it. We being Nelsonville Police Department, and then we give it to them because the guy that I'm not certain. But ultimately that's some trading material. I just rough estimated it probably, because the condition it's in and everything is probably worth $1,000. Something that I was contemplating is I would like to have an actual gun safe for the police department. I think we're about the only police department I know that does not have one. Typically, just a standard size. Usually they run about $800 to $1,000. Because right now, any firearms we have that gets turned in or extras or anything like that, they're being stored in the evidence room because it's the only secured place we have in that building. So I've cleaned off an entire storage room and organized all the other equipment and labeled everything. If I had a decent gun safe to where we could keep any extra, whether it be less than lethal shotguns or carbines or things like that, we could also store ammunition, things like that in there.
Should we have a separate safe for anything that comes in for evidence wise versus our own weaponry?
They have a small safe, like, one of these that if something comes in, but to have a safe in there to put like firearms that we seized, like the other day, we seized multiple firearms. It wouldn't be a bad idea but the evidence room, it's pretty darn secure.
Okay.
Right now, there's only two guys. I don't have access to it, nor do I want access to it. I want to keep it to a minimum. We have two guys that actually have access to it of all of us. And that's kind of the way it's best to keep it that way. And nobody can go in or out of there unless one of those are accompanying them, but typically that don't even happen. So I literally stuck my head in there and looked around, and that was about the extent of it, just so I knew what we was working with. But that is a good idea. Certainly wouldn't hurt, but somebody would have to get through, not just in the breach the police department, but then they would have to breach into the evidence room, which is a double secure. So I don't know as if necessarily that would be the most cost effective.
I absolutely believe there needs to be a gun safe in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, my thinking is if we could trade that, somewhere in the ballpark, maybe get, something equivalent to a gun safe. Like I said, it don't need to be anything fancy, just a standard one that most guys have in their house. That wouldn't have to be much. We keep extra handguns, long guns, ammunition, things like that. And then if I get my firearms instructor certified, essentially they would be in charge of that, keeping track of the inventory, things of that nature. I'm trying to think. I'm excited about these two new guys that's coming on. Like I said, I'm very familiar with them, very excited. They're very eager to go. So they're ready to get here and ready to join the cause. So.
Did you have an update, Chief, on their background checks?
Oh, yes. I did complete their background checks. Everything came back perfect. Neither one of them had anything. Certainly nothing with red flags by any means. They're both younger guys, so, they're both 22, I believe. So they're, younger officers, but, for their age, they actually have quite a bit of experience. So one's been full-time since he was 19, I believe. So working for a township, so, and law enforcement. So, yeah, they're excited. I'm excited to have them. Their uniforms are supposed to be, well, there's trickling in now, piece by piece. So I'm hoping that within, maybe this time next week, I'll have them both fully in the uniform. But they're both starting this Monday, so we're gonna start them out and, start their field training program that I implemented with everybody. And you guys, I brought a copy if you guys are welcome to look at it and see. It's a pretty standard form. It's 30 pages, but it outlines exactly step by step of everything that needs to be done. The only other thing other than the office itself for paint and supplies and cubicles and carpeting or flooring that I can think of is I found the former chief's vehicle, that Jeep, and we have an undercover vehicle that to my knowledge hasn't been moved in years. It's a minivan. And I don't know the value of that, but either way, if we're not using it, I'm a big believer in you get rid of it. You sell it. If you can't make anything off of it, then you tow it and get it out, give it away. But those are two things I spoke with Scott about, getting rid of because they just don't need. The Athens County Sheriff's Office, we have a trailer that's part on the DOD list that we got donated to us that an agreement was already met. I believe it was last year for them to have it. So I called them to see if they'd come up here and get it because it's just been sitting here and they're making arrangements to come get that possibly tomorrow, if not the first of the week. There's a hitch issue, but they're getting a new hitch. So, like I said, I'm downsizing as much as I possibly can and getting us down to, if stuff that has been stored for many, many years that I just don't understand why there's no benefit to retain it. And there's none of it of any monetary value that we could get anything for it. So why not get rid of it? So with your guys' approval and whatever we need to do with that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, get a list together and we'll bring an ordinance through to do it the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
And did I hear correctly that your computer is crashing?
Our computers are older. They're not ancient, but they're older, but we are having some technical difficulties and there doesn't seem to be no rhyme or reason to it. And it's just periodically this computer. I was in the middle of typing a letter today, and the whole thing just shut down.
What's your air conditioning like?
It's cool.
Usually when you get a shutdown, you got overheating thing going on, either the CPU fan or the case fan is.
Well, that's setting up on my desk. I mean, and it's cool in that room. It's
Usually when you have a shutdown, that's a heating problem.
okay. Well, it's kind of cold actually.
We might want to check the CPU fan.
Anybody done a virus scan on it?
So what I was going to throw in there, I don't know about the virus scan, and it could be a heating problem because there's a massive amount of dirt in it, and we need the entire office. So we can clean that out. But I wanted to add, so we're doing a COVID, the funds that we got for COVID, we're putting together a committee, and we're going to have our first meeting on Monday. And one of the things I really want to do, and it's just following DOD and what they did, is get everybody established on laptops so we can work away. Whether we have a flood here, COVID, you name it, chief can be at home on 14 days, and still be fully functional, up and running, and being able to operate. So we've already found out that that will definitely be within the scope of that monies. So definitely a plan to upgrade all of their tech anyways. Or
And that would be amazing. And especially, like I said, guys can take that, with them in their cruiser if they need to be, because they got the
I
info.
think they got laptops too.
They do, to do reporting and stuff on, and they utilize them quite a bit.
Jason's got one.
One of the things I've been encouraging is the guys is to do their reports out in the field where they're still visible and things of that nature as opposed to necessarily coming in the office. And when one guy does come in the office, I'm making, one of the things I believe in is one of them should still be out and about. So we're working on those kind of issues. We're getting some things implemented and
I'm glad you brought that up. Scott, you're gonna need to contact Verizon and update the administration's list on the jetpacks that they use in the vehicles. Because that's something, I called about 2 years ago.
No problem.
Get a list together, how many gallons of paint you need and get me, if you can get me a square footage approximately on the flooring, let me know how many feet.
I think Dan's gonna come over on Monday and help me maybe look
Yeah,
at it.
he can't measure.
So,
So,
excuse me? Sorry, what was that?
Can't add.
So, yes, I can do that, because again, I'm not
Fingers
certain
and toes.
what the square footage is.
So,
But
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was
I
gonna
can
say, how many gallons we need?
get it figured up and then just let
Right
me
now,
know. You already did
I
it?
got the figures,
Oh, my.
How many square foot of footage?
72,000.
just to clarify.
72,000.
72,000.
Oh, for the paint, you mean?
No, yeah,
For
square footage, so-
Yeah, that's for an Eagles building.
It's for the Sherman Inn.
So you can
That's
do that
sure.
as well.
Sherman Park.
Okay.
Couple things. So just to kind of recap where we're at, and then I need to add some new things. So I'm going to put together a list of items we want to sell, donate, give away, throw in the trash,
Yes.
trade.
Yeah.
And get that to you folks for an ordinance for approval.
Yes.
And the biggest thing, takeaway is, anything we sell will go back into the general fund. And, and then it's okay to trade the actual weapon that we want to get rid of
I don't
for.
think you're gonna be able to do that. Just check with Gary. I don't think you're gonna be able to do that.
Okay,
it's not a fully automatic weapon.
No, I don't mean that. I mean,
transparency wise,
no,
like financial.
I mean by being able to stay within the law on property. I think Gary's probably gonna insist that you sell it and then use the money. I don't think you can. You can ask him if he's all right with it.
That makes sense. I see what you're saying. So the only question would be, then, would there be any pushback of
See, when
just
we
using
give
that
fire
money?
trucks to Tri-County, we had to have an ordinance on that. So I'm just thinking to stay within the law.
Well, we're gonna bring an ordinance though, for all of this stuff.
Right, I was just saying.
All right, so, I had a question. So or are you done with that?
I actually had, so the other thing I wanted to recap, so what Chief's asking for training, he can cash in some favors and get away with it, but a 2325 is what my rough math right here is to get him up to state minimum for training. And we'll be able to move out forward on that. We wouldn't have to hire anybody. If we can't afford that full amount, as he mentioned, he has some favors to call in. However, I think it's in our best interest to get certified.
Yeah,
I agree.
no doubt.
'Cause I think it's best to be in-house.
Self-sufficient.
So then the
So
other,
we'll send that to finance.
thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the chief's vehicle. So the original plan was for the new cruiser to come in, which is going to be here next week roughly. We got the money from USDA, so all is well there. It's just a matter of waiting on the vehicle to get here and we pay them. And then the previous police chief was going to take the oldest cruiser in the fleet, and that was going to be the chief's vehicle. That was before we smashed the vehicle into the shed and back porch. So now
He's gonna drive the van.
he is going to drive the undercover van. No. So we expect 15,000.
Transit van.
No.
It's pretty nice.
No comment.
Creeper.
So I was going to ask, we're going to get roughly $15,000 from that. We've looked at a couple different vehicles out there. We've looked at new versus used, and Chief, his recommendation lines up with mine. We believe a truck would be best suited for him in the event, because we pick up a lot of bicycles out there when we take folks' stuff or pick
We'll
stuff
be
up.
able to put a snowplow in front.
We could put matching snowplows on the red fire truck and the police chief truck. I'm just kidding. And that's not real. But I'm not sure, because this is my first time going down this road, and I definitely want to make sure. So I'm asking for permission to budget $45,000 for a truck. We would have $15,000 now to put toward it based off the wreck cruiser. If we did a lease similar to how the red fire truck was done, if it was a 4-year lease, it'd be annual payment of $7,500. And if it was a 5-year lease, it would be $6,000. So
So that 15 would pay for at least a 2-year.
Well, that would be putting the 15 down and then
Down
going
on
forward.
it Initially.
Oh,
That question.
That's why your payment's so low for the next 4 years.
so it's actually
So,
35.
so Greg asked a good question. What's the mileage restriction? So what I'm thinking in my head is, I'm not thinking traditional lease. I'm thinking, and Harry, please help me out how the purchase went.
State bid lease purchasing, there's no mileage. You set up your payment, whatever your amount is, 3 or 4 years, you draw it out. The last payment's $1, the city owns it. There's no mileage, there's nothing like that.
I get it.
So basically, we're up to 35.
You're right, so you're basically.
So questions about this vehicle.
Sure.
So it'll be a pickup, so we can put things in the back of it. Will it be 2-door, 4-door? Will it have a back seat? Can you take custody of folks if need be
Yeah.
in the vehicle?
Yeah, I was thinking, and what I was thinking, just to try to make it more cost effective is we don't have to have, we've got equipment from the vehicle that was crashed, and then we have some equipment out from the former chief's vehicle. And essentially all I would need in there would be a radio. There wouldn't have to be a screen, there wouldn't have to be, I could still transport non-violent people if I'm in a scene. But for example, the other night, we loaded up a bunch of stuff out of these search warrants, and the SUVs are great vehicles, but the problem is we've got the back of it, the cargo area filled with equipment. They're all equipped pretty much the same. They fit wonderfully. However, the problem is you can't fit a lot of evidence in there. So if we had a truck, that would come in beneficial to where everybody would have access to drive it, could go and run down, grab the truck, go up, bring the evidence back if we get a big haul, or like to haul the 4-wheeler in, we wouldn't have to worry about if we would taking it somewhere, and or all the bicycles. We're throwing bicycles and we're hauling bicycles in almost daily. So, little things like that. I'm just saying it would be more practical for a truck. As opposed to a car or an SUV. We've already got the SUVs covered. The truck itself would probably benefit us more if we got some kind of cheap bed covering in the back or where we could throw stuff in it without tearing it all up. But I just feel that would be what would benefit the police department the most.
So I got a question for you. The new cruiser we got coming, is already coming with a shotgun mount, a computer mount, all that stuff. So, and there's all that stuff in the old cruiser. So could you put, and as well as a computer, if I'm not mistaken. So you could actually take the stuff out of that SUV and put it in the truck. That way you could have a computer as well on scene.
I could, yeah. The problem is with the cage itself, or what I call the cage, the screen, if you will, it probably won't fit in that.
I'm not worried about the
Yeah.
cage. I was just talking about like the gun mount.
Well, and I found in my inventory, I found excess computer mounts for cruisers. We have several that's brand new, that's not being used. I'm not quite sure why we have so many, but we do. I'm not certain why, but again, we have some. So I mean that we could we have enough leftover inventory, if you will, that we could equip the truck, without any additional cost with pretty much whatever we wanted.
Right, we got a radio coming out of that too, don't we?
And one of the things that could save as opposed to the light bars and things, because those get kind of pricey. I recommended like they're called wigwams, the strobe lights inside the grills and then the tail lights. That's what a lot of police departments use when it comes to a vehicle that's not quote unquote primary function is traffic control or traffic enforcement. Still works just effectively. Officer safety, it's a good issue. It's still just as bright, but you don't have the additional cost. That's much cheaper than a light bar.
Well, let's do that. I think this is a good idea. I want you to look and see what's out there, see what the pricing is, before we can even make an educated decision of any sort of anything. We just need to know what you're looking at, what the price is, and if we can afford it. That's the bare minimums of everything. So,
Yeah, now July 15th here, we should start getting an idea of
where we're at.
Yeah, that's true. Good
So
point.
by the next police and fire meeting, if it's all right, maybe after the next council meeting, we have another police and fire.
That'd be
I'll
great.
have we'll get the estimates to you on that, fully equipped with the wigwams, is that what they're called? And go from there. So one of the things we were looking at too with the different brands are which ones are the most fuel efficient and so forth. So we'll bring that forward to the next one. I just wanted to get the green light that it was okay to move out on that and see what we come up with.
I need you to also, you go, yeah, go ahead. My mind just went.
Get your uniform policy.
Oh, I did set up with the two new guys. I went there to Gulls, formerly Roy Taylor's in Columbus. We're tweaking the uniform criteria. I mean, we're bound by contract of what kind of equipment they get, uniforms and things of that nature. But I'm I guess tweaking that a little bit. We're going a little less with the tactical appearance as opposed to a more traditional uniform. Not necessarily a Class A dress uniform, but the standard, more professional looking, less tactical looking, what they call it's a Class B. It's like a dressier day-to-day uniform. High quality stuff. It's what I talked to a lot of larger departments, called my contacts there, and it's what they use. They're completely happy with it. They said you pay maybe an extra $15 for a pair of pants, but they last about 5 times longer. So it's well worth it. It's most very cost effective. The guys look good. They look professional. As far as I'm making it mandatory that everyone wears everything the exact same. There's a lot of variety that's been going on, and I just think it looks more professional. If we're trying to, project a certain image, I want to make sure we look that a certain way. And I think that goes a long way with our professionalism, that along obviously with our attitudes and things like that. But I'm standardizing that. I already set up an account with Gulls to where if they're going to buy something for their uniform, they've got a list there of everything that they can have to wear on that. So there's no question about them buying the wrong thing or everything. I went ahead and set that up. So it's there for anybody that wants to look at. And nobody can purchase anything outside of that unless it's with their own money without them contacting me first for approval. So I thought that was a nice safeguard to have in place.
And the new officers coming aboard, they also have a copy of the city's policies as well.
Well, they don't yet, but I've got a copy of, they both have their employee packets they're going to bring with them first of the week. I also have them, Nelsonville codes and ordinances. I've got them our standard operating procedures, policies and procedures. I got them their field training officer manual. I have them a big stack of stuff they're going to get thrown at the first day and good reading material when I go home and stuff, because I'm going to have them hit the ground running for the 8 hours they're here. But yeah, I've got a stack for each one, and I plan on making that just kind of routine. Anytime we get a new guy, we get these things, we hand them this, and we turn them loose.
Okay. So you did interview all the candidates, and these are the two, and then we only have then
one full-time.
Oh, we have one
Two
full-time
part-times.
and 2 part-time available.
Yes, sir.
And then
If
how
my
many
count,
candidates did you get, by the way, total?
I don't know. It was approximately 20, low 20s. I would have to.
That's great.
It was something 20 or 22. I can't remember what it was up to. These two guys stand out. I think everybody's going to be very pleased. I think they're going to treat the citizens of Nelsonville with a lot of respect. They're young, enthusiastic. We train them the way we want it done, and I think they're going to supply good service for years.
If you don't mind, I mean, you could bring them if they have time.
Yeah.
To the next council meeting, so they can be introduced to the council, and
Sure.
we could actually welcome.
Yeah, and to the city. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. They definitely need to know.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to pay them.
Well,
That's why I said ask them.
yeah, they'll be good. They'll be all right. They're not. These guys are ready to work. They're
No, I'm just saying that way.
No,
Introduce them and.
both. One lives in Nelsonville now, and the other one lives in Athens County. So they both are relatively semi-local guys.
Nice.
So yeah,
Good. Sounds good.
Tony, did you ever remember what you wanted to say?
I think it's a good idea to bring them in.
okay,
And,
absolutely.
I mean, they definitely need to know who Dan is.
Yes,
No doubt.
absolutely.
So,
And about those open positions, are you going to go back to the same pool of folks that have already been
Pull from
there
that?
for?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
the only thing I was going to do, and I've talked with Taylor about this, and of course
budget.
I've talked with Scott. Is right now with the budget, I was kind of waiting to see, because with some of the veteran guys leaving, we had to pay out some money that wasn't budgeted for. So that kind of put us a little bit behind. So I don't want to say drag my feet, because I don't like that expression, because I like to do things full speed. But I think right now it'd be better if we just use a little caution, I think, from a budgetary standpoint.
Okay.
I would love to have them filled tomorrow
Mhm.
personally, but I think to be more responsible, we might want to wait just a little bit of time.
Sounds like you probably could phone tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I could. Yeah, I know. Trust me. My phone blows up all the time going, are you going to fill, that's, so yeah, there's not a shortage of people, wanting to come here.
That's good. I think the city's in the right term.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
The last thing,
The truck?
Hmm?
You had a question about the truck?
Well,
No.
no, we already addressed that, so, yeah, I'm good with everything.
the last thing was, and I briefly mentioned it in last council meeting, was to write a policy together. Basically, when the new folks come on board, for the first, if they leave voluntarily within the first 2 years, they pay back a prorated amount
Right.
for the
With
equipment, uniforms and
with
such.
training, yeah, absolutely.
So, not sure what you need from us to move forward on
That's a
that.
good question. Training. So if any of these folks become instructors, if the city pays, say, $650 for a training for the rifle, is that something that gets to go with them when that certificate?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it obviously gets to go with them.
Because they're an instructor.
They're still an instructor. It's like, but.
And that's our expense. That's not theirs.
Right,
so-
right. No, but like with our new guys, not that either one of them would, but if one of them would be selected to go to the instructor's training, they're still covered under that 2-year agreement. But we could draft up another one that says, if you leave any training that you've had within the previous 2 years, you owe a prorated amount, or however you guys want it worded.
Sure.
I just made that one up because that's what's a lot of guys, you find a lot of turnover early in guys' career, a lot of 6, 9 months, 12 months, So that's why, we're putting essentially about $3,600 into a brand new employee with physicals and backgrounds and uniforms, just in that alone. So $3,600, if a guy leaves in a year, at least we can recoup $1,800. I mean, I think that's I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I just wanted to make sure that was something too that. Okay.
So you want to add that into the ordinance?
Yeah, I think that's a good
As well
idea.
as any training?
Okay. So I can, it's okay with you guys then to go ahead and when they show up on Monday, that was one of the many forms I got for them to sign. Is that?
Well, that one, I think we had to put an ordinance out on first, huh?
That's why
Procedure?
Gary said doing it.
Yeah, that's what Gary.
That's right. Gary did say that.
Yeah.
So, no, you can't, but tell them it's coming.
They know. I mean,
So council we can do that on suspension of rules?
yeah, I told them about the proposal that was out there and neither one of them had any issues.
I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Not with these two.
No.
Right, so they can sign it after we pass the ordinance.
That's fine.
And the other mention during that meeting was maybe expanding that across the city to the other employees as well.
Right, we talked about that, but I think the main one is the police department right now, because that's where you're buying uniforms, you're buying this, you're buying that, you're buying this, training.
It may have to be multiple ordinances,
Fair enough.
police, fire, utility.
Just looking for direction, which way you want to roll.
We do that similarly through the volunteer side of the department. Volunteers, they pay for a lot of training, because obviously training's not budgetable in our budget.
Right.
And the guys sign agreements, if they pay so much money, they have to pay it back if they leave within a year or 2 years.
And code department, big department.
One person.
For now.
For now.
For now.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, guys?
Awesome.
Thank you.
You good? Mr.
It's a
Sherman?
lot of production in 3 weeks.
Yes.
A lot of production. Thank you.
We're starting.
Any public comment?
Carl, you got something to say?
Carla got something to say.
A lot of issues with, I don't want to say with kids, younger people and kids on bikes, like coming out from between cars, just pulling right out in front of people.
Right.
Like, even, I had a green light the other day, and they looked right at me, right in the eye, and just went right in front of me. I had a semi behind me. He had to go in the middle lane so that we could all get stopped. And
I know that, yes, I've been riding with the guys. I've been trying to do like I've been putting in some long, long days, but part of, I stopped a guy tonight. I was by myself driving around. It was two young kids, maybe 13, 14 on bicycles. And they pulled into this house and I stopped and told them, I said, guys, they just pulled out. Fortunately, I was going real slow and I was looking around, but not everybody does that. I absolutely think that we need to, because I'm afraid one of them people's going to get hit.
Yes.
Because they don't look, especially the kids, their minds, they're with their buddies and they're not paying attention. So yeah, I agree. That's an issue. If we could set up some kind of, and I talked to Scott about maybe, I've been trying to get out and walk around and talk to as many community people as I can to get to know people. And I'm already starting to see some people for a second time. So it's kind of nice. I'm putting two and two together of who's who and getting to meet everybody. And everybody's been great and everybody shares a concern. And that's what I want to hear. And, I formed, I think in a fairly short period of time, pretty good idea of what the citizens of Nelsonville are looking for. And bicyclists are a big complaint. Not just kids, but adults and not obeying traffic violation or traffic laws and committing different violations. And, we've gotten several people on bicycles that's, has narcotics on their person and has warrants. And, there's all different types of issues that we're having with bicycles. I mean, I certainly am not opposed to anyone riding their bike. I think that's great. I love to see young kids out there riding bikes instead of home on the computer. But I just hope that they use caution, and sometimes they're not. These two tonight, they didn't even see me.
On the kids.
Yeah, didn't even see
This
me.
goes back to me being an old person. When I was a kid, we had an auxiliary, and the auxiliary did bicycle education in the elementary schools. They also we also had a bicycle license. It was like 25 cents or whatever. And you went down and registered your bicycle and they flipped it over and put a serial number on it. And maybe in the future, we could look at getting an auxiliary that did things like that. Not necessarily didn't do police work, but.
Right. Carl, what would you suggest? Do you have a suggestion how I can address that?
I was actually just thinking more like communication and education. I don't want to age myself to gray here, but back in the 70s, I mean, the cops did walk around the square.
Right,
the kids
right.
did know them. They wasn't afraid of them. They would come up to and talk to them.
Well, I've noticed one thing, like, I'll get out of the vehicle. Like tonight, I was down at Poly Field and I went into the back section down along the river. And I was just going, because the other day I was there and I walked around on foot looking down over the banks and stuff. And I found 2 syringes that was there. And so I pick them up and I bring them back, and throw them in a sharps container. But while I'm down there tonight and I get out and I'm just walking around, there's nobody around. And I didn't see this young lady. She comes walking around. She's walking her dog. And I kind of you could tell she was like, she was younger. I mean, probably, maybe 14, 15 years old. And I don't know if she's seen the vehicle I was driving based off the angle she was coming or what, but I talked to her. I want the kids to understand they can approach us. And with all the negativity in the media now with law enforcement and things, I want them to understand that, we're there to help them. And we're not somebody to be feared, but we want to, if we can educate them, I want them to smile and wave and, I want to try to, because they're going to be our citizens of tomorrow. They're the ones we're going to be dealing with. If we don't deal with them now in a positive manner, we're going to be dealing with them in a different way, but potentially in 10 years, or 5.
And I don't know if Scott might have already brought you up to date on the ordinance that we passed, 6 months ago, about the bicycles uptown.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
he did. Yeah. And we've been working on that. We have.
You'll find most of the violations that there are kids.
No, you're right. Not there. No.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I can tell you from the community that I've heard overwhelmingly, and this is a resending thing over and over and over and over and over, is please, the bicycle mafia, the bicycle backpackers, the bicycle, whatever they want to call them, parade, whatever their name is today, the town is crying for that to stop.
And like I said, we've
I know, right?
arrested several with warrants, and we've arrested several with some minor drug offenses, possession of drugs had on them. And so I'm aware of that. And like I said, that's what I'm getting echoed to me when I'm talking to people throughout the community. I mean, again,
Absolutely.
I like to get a feel for what the issues are, because I can't serve them the best of my abilities if I don't know what the issues are. So I appreciate all your input, because we have to, in order for us to improve, we have to know what areas to focus on.
All right.
So I appreciate it. Also, one last thing I forgot, Keller Blackburn is setting up, I've been working with Keller, and he's been great. He's going to assign an intervention specialist for a couple months for just Nelsonville. And what we're going to do is we're going to get with him. I'm going to refer to this gentleman daily. People that truly want to break their drug addiction, people that has problems with housing and food and things, homelessness, things like that.
Right.
This specialist can work with them individually to get them back on their feet and get them over that hump if they truly want to help themselves. So I'm kind of excited about that, because typically we deal with two kinds of people. One that you can just tell at this point in their life they're not ready to change. We're just a huge inconvenience. The other half is the ones that's crying and say, I don't know how to help myself. I'm an addict and I can't do anything. And unfortunately, we can't follow them up as much as we'd like to, other than make referrals. This guy will be assigned essentially to Nelsonville. So I'm really excited about Keller doing that for us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing too, with the kids and bicycles and prevention or public education and PR, every year we do a safety day, and we teach kids bicycle safety with Hawking College on their campus, fire trucks and all that. I'll make sure you guys are.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Carl, is that it? Okay,
Thank you, Carla.
call this meeting, anybody else have anything?
Yeah, now that Linda quit, I'm the oldest.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to conclusion at 9:06.